Coming up, the Runaway Railway opening date might be delayed till 2020. Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy opens in Walt Disney World. Construction begins on the Star Wars Hotel. And the new Hollywood Studios 30th anniversary signage could be hinting at some things to come. My name is Brayden, and this is Mickey Views News.
All who come to this happy place, welcome.
Now I'm the king of the swingers.
Our largest expansion ever. We're not just building one of these, we're building two.
First up in Hollywood Studios this week, we have a big rumor that has been making the rounds. I've heard it from a few sources, and now it has also been reported online by Blog Mickey, the rumor being that the Runaway Railway might not be opening fall 2019, as previously stated at the Bob Chapek presentation back at the Destination D event late last year, but perhaps the Runaway Railway will not be opening till maybe even next year in 2020. Personally, I think at the time of that D23 event, it was definitely planned for it to open fall 2019. Who knows, maybe it still is, but it is undeniable that the plans for Hollywood Studios this year have changed dramatically since that event. At the time Parks Chairman Bob Chapek presented that date to us, Galaxy's Edge was slated for a late fall 2019 opening, which we are talking about maybe November or December. Then sometime around late January or early February, in my estimations, an audible was called internally by Disney to open the lands without the headliner attraction that was pushing back those dates, Rise of the Resistance, in order to get the lands open sooner, get people in, work out the kinks, and open that attraction, Rise of the Resistance, separately once it is complete. And we sort of already know when that will be, because originally the lands were going to open with the headliner attraction, and those openings with the Rise of the Resistance included were slated for summer 2019 in Disneyland and late fall 2019 in Walt Disney World, which means that late summer or fall crowd the Runaway Railway was intended to capitalize on, help eating up those crowds as the opening of Galaxy's Edge would be approaching after the Runaway Railway opened. Now the Runaway Railway has zero utility in that time slot, given Galaxy's Edge will already be open, things will already be crazy in the park. The rooms are being booked up like crazy this fall because the August 29th opening has essentially shifted the entire focus of Walt Disney World each year, which is typically in those summer months, given school's out during the summer. We got Pandora in the summer in 2017. We got Toy Story Land for the summer in 2018. We're getting Galaxy's Edge this year, but it's now in the fall. And based on the sort of reservation volume we've been hearing about since that date announcement, it appears that all of the focus in Walt Disney World this year is on the fall, with Galaxy's Edge opening, and then later in the fall, Rise of the Resistance opening, although we don't know that for sure just yet, but likely late fall, so probably November or December there. And since the Runaway Railway shows no signs of being open this summer, given the radio silence on the project from Disney's end, the progress on it, if it was opening this summer, Disney would have announced it with their summer offerings. It may very well be possible that between construction delays and the fact that the opening of the attraction, an attraction Disney has spent years of work on with research and development, opening it in the middle of those record Galaxy's Edge crowds will give Disney very little return on investment, when if it were given a different time of the year to open, this attraction alone could bring in new waves of crowds, with it being the first Mickey ride ever, the most underrated thing coming to Walt Disney World, in my opinion. The fact that Disney has been working on this ride for upwards of 5 years now, this ride is going to be something special. So Disney has a decision to make. Open the Runaway Railway this year, fall of this year, as originally announced, have its opening overshadowed by Galaxy's Edge opening around the same time, with all those crazy crowds happening, but also it'll help eat up those crowds that'll be all over Hollywood Studios, or delay it till perhaps early 2020 and maximize on the crowds that this attraction alone could bring in, rather than just lumping it in with there already being massive crowds there for Galaxy's Edge all on its own. And that's assuming it's even a decision Disney has to make and there aren't any sort of development delays or labor shortages or construction delays with the Runaway Railway. There is a ride vehicle being tested on site for the attraction, I believe, one of the autonomous ride vehicles. You're going to be on Goofy's train, and then all the individual cars are going to split up and do their own things. It is going to be absolutely incredible. So there's a lot of conflicting info out out there, but given the monumental, unprecedented change Disney has made to the 2019 lineup by splitting Galaxy's Edge and the Rise of the Resistance into two separate phased openings, leaves little room for the Runaway Railway, and I'm confident whenever we do get this ride, we'll see it not only as possible of living up to the standards set by its predecessor, the Great Movie Ride, but also as something that should be given its own chance to shine. Something I'd like to add on here is, with the Rise of the Resistance attraction and Galaxy's Edge looking like it's opening later and sort of seeming like it's delayed here, or at least taking a very long time to build, at the shareholders meeting last month, CEO Bob Iger made a comment about it that I think goes to show that Disney is really pushing the boundaries with these new autonomous ride systems they're intending to open very soon in Hollywood studios with the Runaway Railway and the Rise of the Resistance, and possibly some challenges they're facing there. Take a listen.
We're going to have a second big opening later in the year when we debut the land's second big e-ticket attraction, which we're calling Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Now, no one has ever attempted anything of this magnitude, and so it's somewhat daunting even by our standards, but we're really proud of what we're building at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Daunting even by our standards. So it's not to say I'm giving Disney a reprieve for opening Galaxy's Edge without the main attraction, but I entirely understand why they are. They need to get these lands open as soon as possible, but they are also trying to break new ground with these new autonomous systems we're seeing come to Hollywood studios that may be more advanced than anything we've ever seen in the parks before, and that is why I'm so excited for both of these attractions. Let me know what you guys think. Will we see both of these new attractions open in Hollywood studios before the year is up, or will the Runaway Railway become a 2020 offering, as rumors are suggesting? For all we know, Disney all of a sudden breaks the silence on this ride, and next time we're talking about this ride, there's a new Disney Parks blog post, and we have an opening date for this year. But given all the changes to the timetable we've seen in such a short window here, the idea that the dates may have changed on Disney's end with respect to the Runaway Railway, along with what we've seen with Galaxy's Edge, seems like a serious possibility. We'll see what happens there. Speaking of new attractions in Hollywood studios, this week, Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy opened at the park at the Sunset Showcase next to Rock and Roller Coaster. Outside, some of McQueen's friends traveled all the way from Cars Land out in Anaheim to greet guests at Walt Disney World for the opening of this new show. And as we've been speculating about for quite some time, it turned out to be a lot more than a meet and greet, as some expected when Disney released the first cryptic details of this project last year. First off, as the centerpiece of this show, you have this incredibly fluid Lightning McQueen figure, this enormous wraparound screen behind him where McQueen does racing simulations. I think this story is a fun one. I like when Lightning is doing his VR simulator and Chick from the original Cars movie actually crashes it, and a bunch of funny air messages flash by really fast. Just a lot of little extra details are like that there in the show, perhaps to keep the older, more detail-oriented guests entertained, while the kids are definitely enjoying Lightning McQueen there. Some incredible tech work Disney did with that Lightning McQueen animatronic, with the internal projection to make his eyes and mouth work, a 360 movable platform he's on, which looks to me like a 6-axis hydraulic platform there, where you can actually spin and turn and all sorts of stuff. Really excellent work on Disney's part, and definitely worth checking out if you ever have some extra time in Hollywood studios. Moving over to Galaxy's Edge, taking a look at the latest aerials from BioReconstruct, you can see a lot of the roofing has begun being applied to the Black Spire Outpost buildings, where the roofs will be visible in the land. So now Disney is doing the theming to actually make those themed roofs a reality. Also, the Millennium Falcon, parked outside the Smuggler's Run attraction, looks to be almost complete. I think at one point you were supposed to be able to actually walk around that ship as a walk-on attraction, but later it was changed in the development of the land, so you'll actually have a few minutes to walk around the indoor cabin of the Millennium Falcon and actually take selfies with the holo chess table and all that, all inside the attraction itself as you're waiting to board the cockpit and the attraction begins. Disney has even structured the attraction queue in a way where it'll seem like you are entering the Smuggler's Run building, walking past the Falcon, getting in line to board it, and it'll actually feel like as you go through the queue and you get to the end of the queue, you'll be walking out to that same exact ship you walked past outside. So it's all one single Falcon, one single cabin, one single cockpit, one continuous story. Really excited to see how Imagineers pull that off. The next level in themed entertainment. It's going to be pretty incredible. Speaking of theming, we also have a few new pieces of concept art. First off, we have the First Order supply shop in town. Hey, even stormtroopers need a place to shop. Next up, we also have the opposite. We have the Resistance supply shop on the outskirts of town, where the rebels are hiding out by the forest, mounting an offensive. Looks cool. And lastly, we have a new look at Kat Saka's kettle area, where you'll be able to actually buy some very interesting looking popcorn. I thought it would be a makeshift popcorn cart looking thing that you'd get the popcorn from, but nope, it looks to be a full quick service-esque location where you'll be able to buy this exotic popcorn. Interesting to see how that turns out. Speaking of Galaxy's Edge, taking a look at this aerial from WW Magic, you might notice something's going on behind the land. And that is because this week, the first foundations were laid for what will someday be the Star Wars Hotel experience. Construction has finally begun on. Currently, the Star Wars Hotel is slated for a 2022 opening. Whether or not any of us talking about this and watching the progress on it will ever actually be able to stay at the hotel remains to be seen, given the very limited number of guest rooms. Only 34 are even visible on the single floor blueprints we got last year. There's likely another floor, or maybe there's another 34 guest rooms, but that would only be 68 rooms. And this isn't like the thing where you can book one single day. When you book the hotel, it's for several days. You're going to be immersed in this experience. Add in the demand. Honestly, I think that we could be looking at some Polynesian bungalow level prices here if I had to guess. So even though I'll never be able to afford anything like this, I'm still very much looking forward to seeing how this project turns out, just to see how Disney pulls it off and what the guests who are fortunate enough to experience it think, because I really do think Disney is bringing it to a whole new level with something that has never been attempted before with themed entertainment. Let me know what you guys think about the Star Wars Hotel. I'll put in my guess right now. $5,500 to reserve a room. That is my guess. Remember, it's a set number of days. 3, I believe, that this experience will be. You'll be on a ship the whole time, likely with food included. You're going to have all sorts of theme stuff happening, characters. You're going to be part of the story. You're also going to be going into Galaxy's Edge, all included. So with so few rooms and what will likely be Galaxy's Edge level hype, and given all that you're going to be offered with this experience and booking a room, I think that sounds around what it will cost for the experience. $5,500. Is that a little much? Do you think it'll be less? It probably will be, maybe more like $3,000, but I really do think it could be pretty expensive given the demand that we'll likely see here. Let me know your guesses. Also at Hollywood Studios this week, the park is turning 30 this May, and with that, Disney has added brand new banners, wall graphics, and signage plastered all over the park, featuring the special Hollywood Studios logo celebrating its 30th anniversary. The street banners include characters on it related to the park, like BB-8, of course, with Star Wars on the way, Mater with the new Lightning McQueen Racing Academy we just talked about, the Muppets, of course, with Muppet Vision 3D, Jessie and Woody by Toy Story Land, but also, for some reason, the Monsters, Inc. characters are there. I wonder what they could have to do with the future of Hollywood Studios. Only time will tell. Last up in Hollywood Studios this week, Disney has announced that with Toy Story 4 on the way, a new character is coming to Toy Story Land to meet guests and also to promote the film. Bo Peep will be coming to Hollywood Studios this summer as she tours the parks around the world. Whether or not she'll be in her new Toy Story 4 apparel that we've seen in the trailers remains to be seen, but I think it's a big possibility given Disney is rolling this out as a special offering this summer. Last summer we got a new character offering, as you might recall, Edna Mode coming to the parks for the first time, if you remember that. So perhaps this year we get a new updated costume for Bo Peep that everyone wants to meet with. Let me know your thoughts. That's the latest news in the world of Disney and Hollywood Studios this week. Be sure to subscribe with the notification bell on so you never miss any news. We have some more Mickey Views news episodes on the way. We've also got some incredible t-shirts for sale starting at under $20. I'm wearing one of them right now, the Eat Sleep WDW shirt. Link in the description below for those. Before we wrap up here, I just want to give you guys an update on what's going on my end. I told you I was moving to Orlando this summer, and I wasn't kidding. I've booked a trip to find an apartment at the beginning of June. I have all that booked and all that planned out. So now, with a cemented date in mind as to when I'll be leaving the studio and actually moving to Disney, it has forced me to evaluate my priorities, mainly the fact that I have basically less than 8 weeks to make the series I've been promising for so long, Impromptu Imagineering, become a reality, because that set I spent 2 summers building here at the current studio in Atlanta. Once I move, I can cover the news for you guys from anywhere, any space, any apartment, but a show like Impromptu Imagineering building, that set, the level of production quality, it'll be a while before I ever have the means, the chance, or the real estate, quite frankly, to ever do anything like that in Orlando. These are the last 2 months I have where I have the freedom of space, where I can just take a risk, take a chance, and actually try to make this dream I've had for so long come true in terms of making the show Impromptu Imagineering a reality. So I've been working at that nonstop these past few weeks because, quite simply, there is no other option. I have to make this show for you guys, and I'm not just gonna, give it up and move to Orlando and not be able to make it for like another couple years. No. I'm making it happen now. So since I need all the equipment in the studio here dedicated to producing Impromptu Imagineering currently, the Mickey Views Daily News flash briefings are on hiatus, and so is the Magic Weekly. We'll see. I'll try to get back to the Magic Weekly sooner rather than later. And obviously, once I'm down in Orlando this summer, I won't have this huge studio to make these elaborate Imagineering things. So it'll just be me, a camera, vlogs, Disney news. So I'm not worried about the future of the flash briefings or this show or the Magic Weekly because I'll be able to do all of them down in Orlando, no problem. Not so much with Impromptu Imagineering. I can't move that set. And once I'm gone, these sets are gone. So it's really now or never. If you'd like to support all of this directly, you can find us on Patreon and check out all the cool perks like being one of the executive producers listed in the credits of all of these videos. And of course, the t-shirts I mentioned on our Teespring store, including this brand new The Future Returns shirt I made in honor of the return of the iconic Epcot Center fountain that'll be returning to the park at the entrance in the very near future. Link in the description below. That's all for this episode of Mickey Views News. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the support. You guys are absolutely incredible. This is Brayden. Have a magical day.